system of power sharing between the main parties, which remains high on the news agenda to this day. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, will welcome President Joe Biden to Northern Ireland on Tuesday to mark the anniversary. I'm delighted now to be joined by Northern Irish politician and life peer Baroness Kate Hoey, who served as Labour MP for Vauxhall from 1989 to 2019. Good evening, Kate. So tell us of the significance of the Good Friday Agreement.
Good evening. Well, looking back 25 years, it was very significant at the time, and the Prime Minister, Tony Blair, did put in a huge amount of work to get it over the line. It was something that at the time, to many people in the pro-union community, was seen as, the end of the whole question of people demanding a united Ireland. It was seen as once and for all that the Irish Republic had accepted that the constitutional status of Northern Ireland would not change until such time as the people of Northern Ireland decided they wanted to change it. And of course, a lot of people voted for it. I supported it at the time. I went along and over to Northern Ireland and campaigned for it. But there were some very difficult parts of it. Releasing terrorists after a very short time was something that was very unpalatable to many, many people. But the overall principle was that this would end the killing. And of course, it did stop the very large, very strong, large amounts of killing that had gone on. But it didn't bring ultimately peace in the sense of the two communities coexisting very well, although things over the last 25 years have been better. But it's rather ironic, I think, that just as people are commemorating it, that actually the Belfast Agreement is now pretty shattered. The storm is not sitting, and even David Trimble, who was one of the architects of the Belfast Agreement just before he died, wrote to say that it had been completely broken by the protocol. So we're in a situation where there's going to be lots of kind of memorials to it, but actually on a day-to-day basis now, it's probably the Belfast Agreement is broken, and that is going to require a great deal of fixing.
So talk to us about the role that the Good Friday Agreement plays in the disputes about the Northern Ireland Protocol.
Well, the reality is that the Belfast Good Friday Agreement had nothing in it about borders and structures at borders. All it said was that it wanted to make sure there was no security infrastructure at the border. Unfortunately, when the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union, and people in Northern Ireland had the same ballot paper saying, do you want to leave as the UK, not do you want to leave Northern Ireland out, the European Union, coupled with the Irish government, realised that this was quite a soft spot left to punish the United Kingdom for leaving, and that Northern Ireland, and they kept going on over and over again, we can't possibly have a border, a hard border, they kept using the word hard border without defining it, on the island of Ireland. And so ultimately our own government then accepted that there would be a border down the Irish Sea, dividing our own country. So we're now in this ridiculous situation, even with the Windsor Framework, which was the recent changes to the protocol, hasn't really changed the structural issue that Northern Ireland has been left under EU rules in the single market for trading issues and under the European Court of Justice. And so as the rest of Great Britain diverges more and more from the EU, Northern Ireland will be left behind. And that is now the main reason why Stormont's not sitting, why the Democratic Unionist Party have said they won't go back in. And in the form of government that was set up by the Belfast Agreement, it has to be a form of power sharing. So it has to be the two communities working together. And so Sinn Féin a few years ago brought down the Assembly for 3 years. Now the DUP have brought it down for over a year. And we're in a situation where Biden's coming on Tuesday. He can't actually even go to Stormont to address the MLAs because Stormont's not sitting. And I think the whole thing will be a little bit of a hyping up of something that actually, because of the action of our own government, is no longer working.
So if we pay attention to the news and realise there's been a rise in violence lately, do you think the motivating force is the issue to do with the Northern Ireland Protocol, or are other factors at work here?
Well, I think that obviously there have always been elements within the Republican movement who haven't given up on the violence attitude towards getting what they want, which is a united Ireland. And we have seen breakaway groups from the official, the official IRA, the main IRA, provisional IRA, and now we've got the real IRA, who were responsible recently for the attack on the police sergeant in Northern Ireland just a couple of weeks ago. And we are, it is worrying. It is worrying because there are groups that may not be very big and they may not have the huge support that the IRA had, but they're there and they have threatened, and our security forces have definitely got intelligence that they're wanting to, make some kind of attack. Now, whether they would do it when Biden is here, President Biden, because President Biden hasn't actually shown much interest in Northern Ireland. He is very, very Irish. I mean, he even made a comment one day about, made a joke at St. Patrick's Day, which didn't go down very well, about no orange here when he was standing in front of a lot of Irish people. So, there's not huge enthusiasm for Biden coming anyway. But I think it's unlikely that the elements of republicanism would want to upset the Americans in that way. So, but yes, there is no doubt about it that things are not good in Northern Ireland, and I'm afraid our own government has a lot of responsibility for that.